Hey everyone, it's Sheena again. Welcome to our fifth mock call. In this mock call, you are going to learn the following: how to handle a dead end call when your company policy cannot grant your customer's demand, how to de escalate a soup call or a supervisor call, how to deliver a bad news, how important your tone of voice is when talking to your customers, how important internal notes are. And here is the product knowledge for this mock call. I want you to take a few seconds to read it before listening to the mock call. Okay, and now we are going to listen to the mock call. Let's begin. Oh, okay. Ready? One, two, three, ring. Hi, thank you for calling Power Up. This is Candice. How may I help you?
Hi, Candice. This is Cersei. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm a little confused, but I'm fine.
Huh. Tell me all about it.
I got my November billing statement, and
Mm-hmm.
it looks like you are overcharging me $3. My subscription with you is the unlimited package for a fixed amount of $50 per month. But for some reason, you are charging me an extra $3, which makes a total of $53. So I don't really know how it got there.
Oh, can I have your account number and full name so I can check your account and see what the charge was for? Okay, as you heard, Candice just performed step three, which is to confirm the customer's account. She asked for the full name and the account number. But what happened to step two? Wasn't she supposed to say something like, I'm so sorry to hear that, or I'll be happy to check your account? Wasn't she supposed to say some sort of statement that would acknowledge the customer's confusion about the charge? Why did Candice directly ask for the customer's account number and full name without even acknowledging her confusion about the charge? Well, actually, she did. Now, what I'm going to do is I will replay what Candice just said. And I want you to pay attention to what she said before she asked for the account number and full name. Okay, here it goes. Here it goes.
So I don't really know how it got there.
Oh, can I have your account number and full name so I can check your account and see what the charge was for? Okay, as you heard, Candice said, "Oh, that's all." And then she asked for the account number and full name. You might be wondering, was that enough to acknowledge Cersei's confusion about the charge? Was that enough to empathize with the customer? And my answer is yes, it was enough. I know it's one word, it's monosyllabic, but it was enough. And here's why. And I have two reasons for that. First, Candice mirrored the customer's reaction about the charge. She's by saying, "Oh," it mirrored Cersei's confusion about why she was charged the extra $3. And that's it. By saying that, Cersei would already know that Candice herself, the agent, was also confused about the charge. And so mirroring the customer's reaction was also another way of empathizing with the customer and acknowledging what she just said. You see, guys, you don't always have to say, "I'm so sorry to hear that," or "I apologize for this inconvenience. Oh, that must be hard." No, there are some other ways to empathize with the customer or to acknowledge the customer's statement. And one of them is mirroring, kind of like copying the customer's reaction to the situation. With some customers' problems and issues, mirroring your customer's reaction to the problem might not be appropriate for the company's reputation. But in this case, where Cersei was just confused about the charge, mirroring was pretty safe. What Candace said was very short, but it was enough. It was another way of saying, "Really? That's odd. That's not supposed to happen," in one syllable. In this particular call with Candace and Cersei, there really was no need to drag the empathy statement or the acknowledgement. The faster Candice can address Cersei's confusion about the charge, the better. Another very important thing that I want to point out to you in this mock call when Candice said, "Oh, was her tone of voice. The tone of voice when Candace delivered the monosyllabic O was not monotonous. It wasn't lazy. It wasn't dead. It was alive. It was full of life. In fact, it was full of concern and warmth. Even though Candace only said a one syllable response, Cersei could feel that Candace genuinely cared about her problem. And most of the time in customer service, it's really less about what you say, but how you say it. And this applies to this particular mock call. A simple monosyllabic O could already deliver a powerful message when spoken in the right tone of voice. And even when Candace was already performing step 3, which was to confirm the customer's account, you can still hear the concern in her voice. You can still hear that she cares about Cersei's confusion about the charge. Oh, can I have your account number and full name so I can check your account and see what the charge was for? It was not monotonous. That's what really made that monosyllabic response enough to acknowledge Cersei's statement. I am bringing this up because a lot of you in the comments are asking for more sample empathy statements that are a little bit different from the usual. I apologize for this inconvenience, or I am so sorry to hear that. And what Candace just said in this call is one example. You see, you don't have to get fancy with words in order to empathize with your customer a little bit differently. You don't even have to say a lot to acknowledge the customer situation. Most of the time, really, it's about your tone of voice, how you calibrate your tone of voice in order to make the customer feel that you care about her problem. In fact, sometimes saying too much does more harm than good. An example of this is when a customer is in a hurry and you're still dragging your empathy statement and you're still reading a script that's really long, when all the customer really wants is to just get the answer immediately. Of course, this doesn't apply to all situations. There are times when the customer is not really in a hurry and he wants you to talk to him or her, but most of the time they are really just in a hurry. You will know when the customer is in a hurry and you have to adjust your pace. But of course, that's going to be a topic for another video. For now, just know that if your account does not require you to stick to a script, you can definitely do what Candace just did in this call when it applies to your customer situation. Mind you, you would still be fine if you're going to say the cliche, sure, I'll be happy to help you out with that. It's fine. But if you are bored reading from a script every single time and you want to experiment a little bit, you want to vary your empathy statement a little bit, then you can try something like this. You can experiment with your tone of voice. You can experiment with your script a little bit if your account allows it. And you can try to talk to your customer like a human, because that's basically what they want from an agent. Try to talk to your customers like a human and try to be a little more casual if your account allows it, and you'll be fine. Of course, this doesn't apply if your account strictly requires you to stick to a script. I think banking accounts require you to be a little more professional when you're talking to your customers. So this might not be applicable depending on your account, but most of the time you will be fine saying things like this. Now, let's proceed.
Absolutely. I had it written down in my notebook here. Hold on a sec, okay?
Take your time.
So my account number is 123456. And my full name is Cersei Bannister. Bannister with a single N.
Thank you. Let me just pull up your account.
Mm-hmm.
And now, moment of truth. Now, let us see what Candace is seeing in Cersei's account. Now, remember that Cersei's issue was her confusion about the $3 charge, that it was not supposed to be there. Now, let us check her account. If you can figure out what caused Cersei's $3 extra charge, I want you to pause this video, and once you figure it out, play this again and I'll tell you the answer. Time starts now. All right, as indicated in Cersei's November billing statement, the reason for the charge was her late payment for her October bill. The due date was on October 16th, but she paid on the 17th. Therefore, she was charged the extra $3 for her November bill. Also, another important thing that you should see here is the internal note. According to the internal note, Cersei contacted the company on September 30th, 2020 for the same issue. And lo and behold, it was for the same $3 charge. And the agent who answered her call, which happened to be Candace, gave her a one-time exception and canceled the penalty as per the company policy. She even sent her a confirmation email. What does this mean for Cersei? What would be Candace's resolution or answer to her question? This means that because Cersei has been given a one-time exception before, now she's no longer eligible for the exception, which means that whatever her reason for the late payment, she will have to pay up. Candace can no longer exempt her from the charge, according to the company policy. Now, the challenge here for Candace is how should she deliver the bad news? Let's listen. Okay, I am seeing here that the reason for the charge was because of the late payment for your October bill. The due date was on the 16th of October, but it was paid on the 17th. All right, so as you heard, Candace delivered the news as it was. She didn't try to sugarcoat it. She just stated the bad news like it was a fact. As I have discussed in the previous mock call with this same customer, Cersei, in part 4, I said that when you're delivering a bad news to your customer, you need to deliver the bad news as it is. Do not try to say that it seems like, do not say it seems like, it looks like. No, say the bad news as it is and you should be fine. The sooner your customer knows about the charge, the better. Don't beat around the bush. And most importantly, don't apologize. Sure, this was an inconvenience, definitely for the customer, but this was an inconvenience that the customer caused herself. She knew, she had been warned last September that it was only a one-time exception. The next time that she's going to get the same charge, the same late payment, then she will have to pay up. And this is it now. I'm emphasizing this because this is especially relevant for Filipino call center agents. It's kind of like in our culture to apologize for the mistakes that we didn't commit, which doesn't make sense, especially when we're talking to Western customers. Because when we apologize for a situation, it's like we are owning up to that mistake. And the customer has this impression that it's up to you to solve that problem because you're apologizing for it. It's like you're admitting that mistake that you didn't commit. Just deliver the bad news as it is. Don't say that you're sorry. Don't apologize. Just deliver the bad news with less fuzz as possible. It's fine to apologize if your company messed up, if it was your company's fault. But in this case, it just wasn't. So no apology was needed at all. All right, so let's proceed. Let's hear Cersei's response. The due date was on the 16th of October, but it was paid on the 17th.
Really? But I was only late for a day.
Yeah, as you heard, this is where Cersei refused to accept the $3 penalty. And this is normal. A lot of customers, when they hear this kind of thing, they will try to maneuver around your reasoning. They will try to look for weakness with your answer and see if they could get what they want. But you see, no matter how Cersei will try to refuse the charge, she really has no other option because at this time, it is now the company policy that's telling her that no, we cannot give you another exception. So at this point, if you were the agent, if you were Candace, your one and only goal is to just hammer the idea into Cersei's head that she cannot do anything about it. She will have to pay up because she has been given a one-time exception before and she has been informed that this would happen if she paid late again, whatever the reason is. As you heard, Cersei was already trying to come up with excuses of why she was not supposed to be charged the $3 penalty. And Candace will try to repeat the same statement as the company policy. Now, let's hear it. Yes, Cersei, the due date was on the 16th. Any payment beyond that is already considered late and will be charged the $3 penalty. Okay, as you noticed, Candace said something similar to what she said previously. She said that she was late. She paid on the 16th. She paid on the 17th, but the due date was on the 16th. She just paraphrased it to make it sound a little different. But basically, she's just saying the same thing, that Cersei should pay up because she was late. Now, again, remember that Candace's one and only goal at this point of the call is to just hammer the idea into Cersei's head that she is going to pay up whatever her reason for the late payment is. And as expected, Cersei will try to refuse the penalty and just come up with excuses and reasons why Candace is in the wrong and why the company policy is ridiculous. Therefore, Candace's next responses to Cersei will be a variation of this one message. Cersei, because we have exempted you from the charge before, you will have to pay up this time whatever your reason is. Period. The more Cersei will try to argue this point, the more Candace will have to come up with variations for this message. But essentially, this is really just the message. Cersei, pay up because we have given you a one-time exception before. Now, what I want you to do is to pay attention to Candace's response. Notice how she's basically saying the same things over and over again, but in different words. It might sound like she's saying different things, but it really all boils down to you will have to pay for the penalty. Now, I'm going to have to remind you that this is not going to be easy for Candace. Cersei is not going to give up that easily. She's going to fight and she's going to argue, and she is going to look for weaknesses in Candace's reasoning. This is exactly why Candace is going to come up with different ways to reiterate her one message. Now, let's listen.
Seriously? But that's only one day. In fact, now that I think about it, it's actually even less than a day. It's only hours, actually. I paid the bill early in the morning of the 17th at 6 a.m. Couldn't you do something about this? Couldn't you exempt me just this one time?
I can't, Cersei. I see here in your account that you have been given a late payment exception last September 30th.
Whoa. Hold on. I don't remember that. What are you talking about? This is my first late payment with your company. I have never been late with payments before.
According to the notes here on your account, you and I talked on September 30th, 2020. You were charged a $3 penalty and I submitted the request to have it canceled as a one-time courtesy. Also, you asked me to send you a confirmation email to confirm the exception.
For God's sake, this is ridiculous. Listen, Candace, I want you to be reasonable here. I know now. I paid late. Fine, I get it. But my point is, it's only been a few hours. Your due date was on the 16th. I paid at 6 a.m. on the morning of the 17th, which means it's only been 6 hours. 6 short hours. You see the math here, Candace? Do you see the math? It's only been 6 hours from the due date and you're already charging me. Is that fair? Is that fair to do to your longtime customer?
Cersei, I completely understand it's only a 6-hour difference. It's barely even a day. It's very short. And that's frustrating for you. I get it. Now, if this was your first time receiving this penalty, like in our previous conversation, I would be able to grant your request without any problem whatsoever. But because I have already given you the exception before, I have no other option but to charge you the penalty this time. This has been our company policy since 2010. Now, notice that Candace acknowledged what Cersei just said, that it's only just a 6-hour difference, that it was just a short difference, and that it must be so frustrating for Cersei. But note that Candace did not apologize. She empathized. She acknowledged Cersei's frustration about the problem, She's basically telling Cersei, look, Cersei, I understand your point. I know you're frustrated, but this is how our company policy works. You will have to pay up because we have given you an exception before. In customer service, guys, even if you cannot do something for the customer, you still want to acknowledge her frustration. This is important. Even if you cannot give her anything that she wants, even if you cannot give her anything that might be called a resolution, it is still important. And that's because you don't want the customer to explode. If you don't, imagine if Candace didn't acknowledge Cersei's statement. Imagine if Candace didn't say, yes, I understand it's frustrating for you that it's only a 6-hour difference. The possibility would be Cersei would just go from frustrated to ballistic. And trust me, you don't want a ballistic customer. You don't want your customer to just become unhinged in the middle of the call because it will wreak havoc on your stats. And by empathizing with Cersei, by telling her, look, I understand your frustration, it's basically avoiding Cersei to just explode and just become ballistic in the middle of the call. Because if she does, then it would take an hour long to pacify her again and to just get her off the phone. Because at this point of the call, Candace's main goal is to really just get the customer off the phone. There really was no resolution for her. The only answer to her question is refusal. We cannot give you a one-time exception anymore. That's it. So while Candace was repeating the same message over and over again, she was also acknowledging Cersei's frustration. And the purpose for that was to avoid Cersei from being crazy during the call. It's basically like giving Cersei an outlet so that she would not explode like a volcano. Your goal when you're the agent and you are in a dead-end situation with a customer is to kind of let the customer know that you are not the enemy here. You're just the messenger and that you understand her frustration. That's why you need to still acknowledge her frustration and empathize with the customer, even if you cannot give the resolution that she wants. But at the same time, you need to deliver your message with firmness and confidence along with empathy. If you mix confidence with empathy, you should be fine. Your customer should eventually realize that it's a lost cause for her, that she will never have a chance to get what she wants, and that eventually she will have to accept that fact. Of course, your customer will not be happy. That's normal. That's understandable. But your goal really here is to just keep her from exploding so that you can get her off the phone as early as possible and you can still salvage your stats. Now, let's listen to Cersei's response.
Well, then transfer me to someone who can, because I'm certainly not giving up on this. Transfer me to your manager.
All right. How to de-escalate a sub call or a supervisor call. So most agents would usually de-escalate the call by telling their customers, my supervisor is in a meeting or my supervisor is engaged in a call. And the problem with this is it has become a cliche that when customers hear this, most of them usually don't believe it. So what I suggest instead is you try a different technique, which is what Candace is going to say to Cersei right now. Let's play it. I'm afraid nobody can grant your request, Cersei, not even my manager. There are things that my manager can do and I can't, but canceling a late payment penalty is not one of them.
Doesn't matter. I still want to talk to your manager. She's the manager after all, and you're just an agent. But your manager, being the manager, should be able to do something about my situation. It's logic.
I'm telling you this because I don't want to take up more of your time, especially if it means you're going to be hearing the same answer from my manager.
Oh, don't you worry. Trust me. I have all the time in the world.
Okay, please give me 2 minutes so I can inform my manager, okay? Okay, as you heard, Candace told the customer that, hey, even my manager doesn't have the power to give what you want. this is a good thing to say if the customer's reason for asking for a supervisor is because she's under the impression that the supervisor can give her a better resolution or a better or a different answer. But by telling the customer that no, you're not going to get the same answer from my supervisor, you're basically lowering the chances of the customer asking for a supervisor or insisting for a supervisor. Of course, this is not going to work all the time, and this is not the only reason why some customers want to talk to a supervisor. There are customers who specifically ask for a supervisor because they want their words to be heard by someone higher up than by an agent. If that's your customer's reason for asking for a supervisor, then your only option is to really just transfer the call to a supervisor because the customer is specifically asking for a supervisor. But in this case, Cersei's reason for asking for a supervisor was she was under the impression that a supervisor would make a difference in her case. When Candace told her that no, the manager cannot actually make a difference. There are things that the manager can do that I can't, but canceling a late payment penalty is not one of them. So basically, Candace is already telling Cersei up front that the manager cannot help her, so she will less likely to ask or insist for a manager. Now, let's listen. Okay, please give me 2 minutes so I can inform my manager, okay?
You know what? Forget it.
I'm sorry?
I said, forget it. I am done with your company. I am done with your crappy customer service. I am done with your greedy, unreasonable policy. I am not wasting any of my breath talking sense into your management. You know what I'm going to do? Next month, I'm going to transfer over my subscription to your competitor PowerDown and cancel my account with you. 4 years I've been with you. 4 long years of timely payment and clean record, and 6 hours of late payment, and you're acting like I haven't paid you for months? Seriously, Candace, how could you even bring yourself to work for this kind of company? You must be so desperate for a job to be working for this kind of company who doesn't care a button for their customers.
I wish I could have done more, Cersei, but this has been our policy since 2020. When it comes to penalties, we really could only give you a one-time exception, and that's it. And I have already given you an exception last September.
Yeah, well, I know. You've told me that over and over again in this conversation. In fact, you sound like a broken record. Blah, blah, blah.
Aside from this, do you have any other concerns, questions that you want to ask?
Nope. Not like you can do anything about it. No offense, but you haven't helped me at all. Oh well. I guess you don't have a choice. It's just your crappy company and your desperate need for a job. Thanks for nothing. Bye.
Okay. All right. So the customer hung up, so there was absolutely no need for Candace to close the call. So that's not applicable. All right, guys, so that was the 5th mock call. Before I end this video, I just want to point out several reminders that you might find useful when talking to your customers. First is that your tone of voice is very important. It is usually in customer service, it's really less about what you say, but how you say it. Of course, this doesn't apply to all situations, but most of the time, it's really just about your tone of voice, how you say it to the customer. And even if you're not confident deep inside, even if you're already internally screaming because of what the customer is telling you, you can fake your confidence when talking to your customer because you see, you don't have to talk to them face to face. You can fake your tone of voice and you can make it sound like you are confident and firm with what you're saying when in fact you are really not. This customer service is really a lot about this. You cannot afford to let your customer hear that you are in doubt. That's really what you want to avoid especially when you're delivering a bad news to your customer. and you're in a situation where you have no option but to be firm and confident about your answer. Because if you let them hear your weakness, if you let them hear that you're in doubt or you're not sure about your answer, the customer will try to poke you and look for weakness with your reasoning and see if they can get around it when in fact they can. Right after you deliver the bad news, just make it clear to the customer that no, you are not going to get what you want this time. And you have to convey it with your tone of voice. That's why I'm telling you, tone of voice is so important in customer service. Another thing that I want to point out is at the last part of the call, Cersei was so full of insults. At the end of the call, she was telling Candace that she was probably in a desperate need for a job to be working for a company like this. And if you're new, this might feel really awful for you to hear things like this, to hear insults like this. And trust me when I say that there are way, way worse insults than what Cersei was saying in this mock call that I'm not even gonna upload in YouTube because YouTube might demonetize me. In customer service, you just have to develop this thick skin because customers are going to insult you, especially if they cannot get what they want. And you just have to realize that it's not really about you. It's them being frustrated and angry that they cannot get what they want. So I guess my advice is just not take it personally because it's really not about you. It's just them in the heat of the moment being really mad about the outcome of their call. As a customer service representative, you have to get used to this. I know it's a lot of stress, but it's important that you know what you're getting into when you work in this industry. Also, as you notice, when Cersei was insulting Candace didn't take the bait. She didn't take the bait. She didn't react to the customer emotionally. When Cersei was insulting her, Candace stayed on the topic. She didn't try to fuel the fire because if Candace did reply to Cersei's insults emotionally, then the call would drag on longer. It would take hours. And trust me, yeah, a call could drag on for hours if you reply to insults like that. Because Candace stayed on the subject of the charge, and she didn't even take the bait, then it was fine. Cersei really was just angry that she didn't get what she wanted. So she tried to attack Candace personally. The best thing that Candace did was that she didn't take the bait. This is very important. This is something that you need to remember when you're dealing with irate customers. Okay, and the last thing, how to sound confident over the phone. This is a topic that I'm going to be discussing in a separate video, but I'm going to be using clips of the mock call in this video. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that video. All right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you reach the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. And bye.